In today's wood story, we are tackling storage solutions. More specifically, that one junk drawer in your kitchen that's probably got a whole bunch of utensils that's been on your to-do list to fix for a very long time. Well, the good news is that today I'm going to show you a system that you can build easily with a bunch of scrap wood that you already have in your shop. And the best part is that it's customizable for your needs. So if you want to go from this to this, then go grab your tools and let's start this wood story. It's time to kickstart this project, and I've chosen to use hard maple for this project. And the reason for that is because this wood is extremely dense and it is less likely to bend, warp over time. Now, I happen to have all of this in my scrap pile, which is why I am 100% going to use real hardwood because it's just going to keep costs low. If you want to make one of these drawers for yourself, you definitely can. And you can even use plywood, which would definitely keep costs down. The only downside to plywood is the fact that you're going to have to do edge banding following, or you're going to have a bunch of ugly edges exposed. And I wanted to avoid that this time. But essentially what I am doing is creating a bunch of long stretchers. And these stretchers are going to have multiple rabbets at specific intervals. And that will allow for a wood spacer to be inserted and moved around as I need it, which is going to make this system extremely flexible and customizable. Next, I cut my stretchers to their final length, which for me was the width of the drawers, which was 46 centimeters. After cutting my stretchers, I needed to plane them down to their final width at this point. Now, I knew that I wanted them to be thick enough to have the spacers for the rabbets on each side without compromising the wood, but I also didn't want them to be so thick that they would resemble something from the rustic section of Pinterest. So I just finished planing all of these to size, and I have already cut them to the correct length based on my drawer. And the width that I ended up with was 5/8 of an inch. Now, luckily, I'm wearing my upside down flip shirt, so I know exactly what 5/8 is. All I have to do is look right down my shirt and go to the 5/8, and then I will know that that is 15.88 millimeters or 1.58 centimeters, which is, rounded 1.6. That would be acceptable in this situation. So now that we have these measurements all done, it is time to decide where our little side grooves are going to go. And before I do that, I'm just going to use another piece of wood right here, and I'm going to lay everything nice and flat and just make sure that everything is properly aligned. This is going to make it a little easier here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of painter's tape to keep everything nice and tight. There we go. Actually, I'm not going to put it right in the middle. I did that before when I was doing a little test, and that does not work out. So just go slightly below if you're going to follow kind of my situation here. So it's now nice and tight. The only reason that we're using this is to keep everything aligned so that we only have to make the markings at the same time here. And then my piece right here is 46 centimeters, and I've decided that I want one in the middle and I want one of the thirds. So I've gone ahead and marked those pieces. And now that this painter's tape is so nicely aligned here, I can go in and I can start with my first mark right here, and I can mark the center of all of these, making sure that I make a nice line that's easy to see when I get over to the table saw. Beautiful. I proceeded to make the lines for my rabbets, and I also ensured that I flipped the wood over and marked it at the exact same spot, but on the opposite side, because we will be flipping this wood as the rabbet groove needs to be on both sides of the wood. Hence the need for the painter's tape to keep it all together. I'll be adding some more after this. With the rabbet marks drawn on the wood, I'm just taking a little bit of extra time to also mark the thickness that I want to cut away, which is the hole that the spacers are going to sit into. So this needs to match the thickness of the spacers. And I decided to go with 1/2 centimeter, which is just over 3/16 of an inch for the imperial watchers of this video. So I've already set my blade height That's the test that I did, and I highly recommend that you do the same thing. And that is based off of this cross-cutting sled. That's what I've set the height to, because that's what I'm going to be using. The next thing I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using a stop block, because I also want to make sure that when we flip it over that it's going to remain exactly the same. So the first thing I want to do is I want to just get my position here, and I'm going to line it up right in the middle. I know I marked the two edges here. That's the depth that I need it to be, but I'm gonna start in the middle. And I'm gonna make sure, and I've made marks all the way around so that it's super easy to see. But in order to get it exactly the same on the other side, when I flip it, I'm going to be using my stop block. So I'm gonna line it, and I'm gonna set this right here. Okay? Making sure that this doesn't go anywhere. And now, in theory, it should be as simple as me just pushing it all the way through. I'm gonna do all of them at once, and then I'm gonna need to shimmy it. I'm gonna need to shimmy it this way, and I'm gonna need to shimmy it the other way as well, which will mean that I'm gonna need to move the stop block, but I'm actually gonna turn it each time because I want it to be exactly the same every single time. So let's do one now, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I've done the one side, it's gone through, but I'm not gonna shimmy it yet. I am going to flip it. And I'm gonna use that stop block that I already made, and I'm gonna make it go right up against that, and then I'm gonna do the other side. And then once I've done that side, I'm gonna move it to the edge and flip it. And then I'm gonna move it to the other edge and flip it. So in total, we are going to be doing 6 for each of these lines here. And that's gonna ensure that it is exactly the same on every single side. So let's keep going here. So my first ones are done. They are now exactly the same on both sides here by using this kind of flip method here. I am going to do a double check that it is the right size before I move on to the next one. And as I mentioned before, this is just a little example piece that I made. And I, of course, can go ahead and make this even thinner after the fact, because this, actually, that's looking decent. That looks great. Okay, I am happy with this. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the other two. And the first one, I'll just move it around here. And I'm going to start the same way again. Position my stop block exactly where I need it. And then we'll go again. So this is where we're at. Turned out pretty good. It's, I would say, within a fraction of an error between both sides. So I definitely would do this again. Before I take off the tape now, I'm just gonna run some sandpaper through it. It's just gonna be easier while they're all here together here. Just make it all nice and smooth. And again, double check your sizing. You will still have the ability to fix that when you get into these crossbars that we're gonna make. And then remember, they're gonna sit like this. They're not gonna sit like that. And you know, even if they were slightly off, you're probably not gonna see it because you're gonna be able to bend it just slightly.
I finished the grooves and then I moved on to making the spacers. Now, luckily, I already had my resaw blade on my bandsaw, so you don't have to witness my despair changing and resetting up this blade. And if you happen to be a returning viewer, thank you very much, but then you already know that I have a love-hate relationship with my bandsaw. But right now, we're actually friends. It's been nice and it's been cutting fairly straight lately, especially with this new green bandsaw jig thing that I got, which actually pushes the wood inwards while the wood goes through. I am, however, also considering upgrading my bandsaw to have the ball-bearing blade guides. And if you have this on your saw, I am curious. Could you let me know in the comments below? Is it worth the $200? Let me know.
I made a total of 6 spacers. If you have very long utensils, you may not actually need that many spacers. And then don't forget to cut them to size based on the thickest item in your drawer.
I want to take a quick minute to say thank you so much for watching this video. Your support means the world to me. Every time you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, it means that I can continue to bring videos such as this one to you. So thank you very much. But there are other ways that you can connect with me as well. You will find me both over on Instagram, but you will also find me over on my Patreon page, where you can become a VIP member or a regular member, depending on your preference. The benefit is that I post behind the scenes content outside of the bi-weekly videos that I'm making. So I'd love to see you over there. I'd love to meet you, and I'd love to hear more about who you are and what you're looking for in videos in general. So go meet me over on the Patreon page, and a huge thank you to all the Patreon members who are already following me and who are supporting me. I really appreciate you. Now let's get back to this video. Okay, painter's tape is off. And we now have all these really cool looking pieces. Awesome. Look at that. So now the idea is that I'm gonna spread them out. Pretend this is my drawer, like this. And then we have the little spacer pieces. And you will need to do at least 1 spacer per area here. And this is where I'm saying mine were a little bit tight. But okay, so in all fairness, I'm going to go over and I'm going to sand these down with the drum sander. I figured that was going to be easier than sanding all these holes to the end of it. So I'm not going to worry about putting them all the way in right now. I'm just going to show you what it's going to look like. So the idea is that you'll have some where it's going to be like this, and then other areas like that, and maybe like that. And this is where you can customize it based on your drawer. And that's the whole point, right? We want it to be customizable because we all have different crap in our drawers here. So something like that. And that's why I'm thinking, I actually don't think I'm gonna need this last one, because there's gonna be a little bit of space along the sides here, and that is perfectly fine. That's kind of in a compartment in its own. So I think this is more or less what mine will end up looking like when it is in the drawer. Okay, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Okay, so I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna just sand these down a little bit so that they actually do fit inside of my spacings. And then I guess it's time to do a dry fit inside. So I ran into an unexpected issue. I went into the house and I did a dry fitting, and this part was fine. Like the insert was great and all connecting and doing what it's supposed to. But I didn't account for the fact that most of my utensils are so long, which means I only need 1 divider. And really, it needs 2 in order to not be flopping around like this. And with there only being 1 divider in some of these, it's not great. So I had a couple ideas for fixing it. One would be to take a thicker piece of wood and essentially brace it at the bottom between these and permanently attach it. The only reason that I don't like that idea for my drawer is because some of the utensils that I have are already so long that if I add this little extra spacer piece, they literally will not be able to fit, and I won't be able to keep them anywhere else. So it's not going to work for me, but it could be a solution for you. So what I've decided to do instead is I'm going to add a bottom to it. I have this very thin maple plywood, and I'm going to add it as a bottom. And as I suspected, I only need 5 because it actually ended up sitting like this in my drawer. There's going to be some space here. There's going to be some space here. So I'm going to now cut this one to size. It's going to need to be chopped here, a little bit on the sides. And then I am going to permanently affix these to the bottom here so that I don't have to worry about them going anywhere. That means I can still change these pieces around if need be over time. Like if I change my mind, if I want to change something in the drawer, it still has that flexibility that I was looking for, which is great. But it does mean that I need 1 more piece of wood that I did not account to begin with. So you live and you learn and you test things out, and that is the difference between making a video on the go versus testing a whole project out and then getting to the conclusion. So
I don't know. What do you think? Would you have done something differently along the way? Do you have any other solutions that could have worked in this situation? You let me know in the comments below. But let me continue this on. I'm going to cut this to size, get this glued up, and then we're almost done.
I used a mix of CA glue with activator and wood glue to attach the stretchers to the wood bottom. Now the key is to get the first one straight and square. But after that, it's much simpler. Just use your spacers and then add the additional stretchers using these as your guide. After it was done, I also decided to give it a nice coat of shellac, but my can was less than full, so I actually ended up just painting it with regular shellac off camera after this shot. The moment of truth came, and it was time to give this utensil drawer its new home. I did have a slight moment of panic as the drawer has these screws on the inside from the handle, and even though I did account for this by cutting the spacers slightly shorter, I didn't really think about the angle I had to insert the full drawer at. Luckily, with a little bit of jiggling and some gentle persuasion, I got it in. All there was left to do was decide where my little handle spacers were going to be placed for maximizing my drawer's full potential. And if I ever change my tools, I mean kitchen utensils, it's as simple as moving a little wood spacer to make room for it. So with this experiment done, I now have a system that can easily be used in my shop as well. And one thing's for sure, I always have scrap wood that can be used for the stretchers. So now I just need to find the motivation to make some more of these. Let me know what you think. Will you try this system for your drawers? Or will you just go on Amazon and buy a pre-made version? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more great videos, and connect with me in between videos over on my Patreon site or on my Instagram social account. I'll see you soon in the next Wood Story.